Hey everyone. This title is definitely not a surprise to anyone with how long it's been out for and talked about. But leading up to the days with Twomad passing away, he's definitely one of the last people I ever expected it would happen to. Some fans might be able to point out some concerning parts of his streams, as well as some signs of his increasing use of drugs, but it definitely wasn't something that was well known to everyone. However, I could have definitely not expected the kind of blown up reaction that was going on in recent days. Especially when at first it was just reports, with nothing being concrete yet, but people on Twitter are just willing to take anything as fact, so they were ecstatic at the news. There were people criticizing jokes about him, saying that his overdose should be treated more seriously, which I understand and side with a bit, but it was definitely more on the side of people kind of celebrating it. Regardless, even though this is the exact kind of response you would see online, I'd still say it's shocking either way.
You know what they say, either you die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Some people just die a villain.
That's what I say now. I've heard that when I first heard that line, it blew my mind. But now that I've seen like 50 times in YouTube videos, it means nothing to me.
This, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, who reported by TMZ was found deceased in his LA home after a wellness check by local police. Apparently they found some sort of drug paraphernalia. The details are slim at the moment that I'm recording this, but to the consensus of most people who have the facts that have been given to us so far, it seems like some sort of self-inflicted overdose that led to his death at this point. Who is Twomad? So
I really hope he brings up that one clip that I've seen on Twitter where like 2 days before people found out that he OD'd, like there was a clip of him on stream. He was like, I don't know, I'll do fentanyl. I'm probably going to do a lot tonight, this evening.
I don't even remember it, really. I really don't. I don't remember this, because I'm on ketamine all the time. Right now, too. Not now, later.
And when people, of course it's true, man, when people first heard that on stream, they were like, oh, he's just joking. But now that he's dead, fully, I want to see if he brings it up. And people fans mentioning like they really didn't know he was serious.
HD-fueled, super meme, fast cut editing style that you might be familiar with a lot of gameplay, Twitch highlights, was really sort of frontiered by him. He's the one who really brought that to like the Zoomer editing, as some on the internet have called. But it wasn't until one viral meme that he recorded just while grinding out content one day did he really catapult himself into superstardom. You may know it as the Goodnight Girl meme.
Oh my god, dude, that made me so dead. Not dead, old, I mean.
I just about to go to bed. I know we couldn't Skype tonight, but that's alright.
Oh boy.
Good night, girl. I'll see you tomorrow.
Most of the information that I'm getting
for a lot of people, that meme was the peak of comedy. Not me included. Thank God I had the hindsight back then to know that was just not that funny. It was alright, but not like perfect.
Sort of ADHD rewatching while I'm playing League of Legends or whatever, it's like a 2-hour-long interview. He would continue to churn out content on the internet, both live streaming, doing IRL content, continuing to do these hyper-edited gameplay highlights. And it was really something that I think me and a lot of other people at the time, because this is when I was starting my YouTube career as well, really looked up to, because he was churning out a tremendous amount of content, even though many people may just know him from the one animated gif of fat black guy falling over, as most people have searched into YouTube to find. The fact that he was like 20 years old at this point, using the momentum that he had on the internet to churn out content, getting banned on Twitch, still uploading to like 3 separate YouTube channels, doing these interviews, collaborating with other people. Anybody who puts out a ton of videos and gets a ton of views on YouTube, like it's not easy to get a lot of views here on YouTube. So anybody who's doing it successfully in a way that's funny, well edited, relatively difficult to recreate, and therefore feels like quality is, a rarity.
That is true. I don't remember him making a lot of videos. I just remember like him doing whatever he can for the people. Like if someone wanted him on a podcast, he'd fly out and do it. Like he really was just traveling and know he can for the people to make videos. I never really checked his main channel, so he might have done like a lot of videos quickly, just like short form, like not a lot of effort, but just like funny stuff for the people to enjoy. But he might have done so because that does seem like kind of like short form content best suited for him.
From some of these interviews and memes being from 4, 5, 6 years ago at this point means that he had a tremendous amount of online notoriety. He was very popular, had millions of subscribers across all of his platforms at age like 17, 19 maybe. So, you know, he was quite young and quite immature in the way that...
Way lower than 17. He has to be one of the people that had the youngest fan bases ever.
Video, he's always very jumpy. He says whatever's on his mind. They talk about a lot of situations where, you know, he's just a little bit, I don't know, like, I don't want to call it autism or like ADHD or whatever, but some level of like not being fully socially there, always being a little bit just say whatever's on your mind. And you can see that in his comedy and the way that he edits. He doesn't shy away from saying words that might get other people canceled. He doesn't shy away from doing accents that some people might find insensitive. That's just, he's just a, you know, like a young internet comedian sort of dude. And that's what people loved him for. You can see
that is true. He did mention in a Cold Ones episode that he loves having an ADHD because he sees it as a superpower. So he was very clearly just not like scared of being blatant with how hyper he is.
Hyper eccentric sort of content that he makes on full display in what I think would be the next giant thing that sort of garnered the internet, honestly, the nation's attention. And that was the Zoom bombing epidemic. When COVID was at its height, obviously a lot of people weren't meeting in real life. And so Zoom, basically video calling, Discord, Skype, if you guys aren't familiar, started to become a popular platform for people to do like online
how easy it was to make funny videos back then with the Zoom calls.
A thing with COVID. So they would all do it virtually. But because of some sort of security oversight or just Twomad doing his diligence and getting the passwords for these chat rooms, he made videos that would garner national news coverage of him just logging.
Oh, it might have been on news, yeah. I think I saw something like that.
Or directors' board meetings, shirtless, doing African accents, or dressed like a Chinese dude, doing fake Chinese impressions, just ruining people's Zoom things. It was a mess. Like, he was interviewed by the news. He was interviewed by like CNN, I think. Like, it was a tremendous thing. Everybody knew who Twomad was at this point. He had superseded internet stardom at this point and was a proper, I don't want to call it like a celebrity, but he was all anybody was talking about for a couple of weeks.
No, he definitely was. I'm not gonna act like a mighty person by being like, I never found those videos funny, because I'm sure I did like find a couple of clips on TikTok or Instagram that I liked because it was funny. But I'm sure if I watched more than like 2 videos from him doing like the Zoom calls, because I'm sure he made a series out of it, I probably would have found it annoying because it is just purely meant to appeal to Zoomer fans. Like, I can't imagine anyone else younger than 18 finding this funny.
Some people get signed in. You guys
said Spanish, right? Hey, Google. Play Despacito, please.
The last super viral meme that I think Twomad was a part of before his downfall, if we want to call it that kind of video, was his photo shoot with internet megastar Belle Delphine, who herself had been on quite a bit of a hiatus, and then after like a year or so of just being nowhere and then showing back up on the internet and making content again, released a photo shoot with Twomad where they were both dressed up in costumes, licking toes and touching on each other. To my knowledge, there wasn't any actual sex going on between the two. They didn't release a tape, so to speak, but my subscription to her OnlyFans ran out like a year ago, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. So Twomad was a man of many memes. He brought a lot of people joy. He made damn good content for the stuff that he did. He made international news.
I'd be happy to debate about that if it was good content. But sure, yeah.
Internet. How many content creators can you say that about? The dude had a lot going for him. So why, after passing away at age 23, is Twitter celebrating? Twomad? Dead? Too bad it wasn't sooner. Passed out while playing Overwatch 2. Yeah,
what? That meme on the right sucks.
Terrible comments by people celebrating the death of a young man. What happened? There seems to be...
You know, there are people like him, like he just mentioned, where he's like, what happened? I could have sworn everyone loved him, but it's one of those things where if you're not like chronically online, just miserable like me, where you don't check Twitter every day, you have no idea what they're like apart from YouTube. Because of course, when you make a lot of videos, the way you portray yourself is the only way fans can know you. So it's only like the more hardcore ones that actually go out of their way to follow you on Instagram or whatever social media you have and check not only only what you're doing, but like how you're interacting with other people. Because if there's any place where people will call you out for stuff you've done in private, it will be Twitter, which will definitely be brought up in this video. Because most of the turn to hatred for him was from people just calling him out on the stuff he did, and just. Okay, it was just from like the way he was talking to people, but some of his tweets were like actually intentionally made to piss off people and make them angry towards him.
Content creators and YouTubers and other individuals who had interacted with Twomad either in real life at conventions or even through direct messages that also sort of shine a negative light on his existence and the way that he talked and interacted with people. I can't speak to all of that, obviously, because it's sort of coming out as I'm recording this, but keep in mind that exists. What I can speak to is the stuff that he faced backlash for publicly, and really like the big thing that has people upset with Twomad, generally speaking. So in June of last year, so like 6, 7, 8 months ago at this point, Twomad was just tweeting on Twitter, as he does hundreds of times a day. One individual said that...
No, it was way worse last year than whenever he started tweeting.
It's a picture of my girlfriend. Seemingly, according to him, this was a random picture of a girl that he thought looked hot, and so would throw out as a meme. Unfortunately, this is an image of Brianna Gray, a teenager in England who was stabbed to death seemingly because she was trans. It was a major news headline and seems like a weird choice of picture to randomly throw out as your fake online girlfriend. Even more so...
There's no way it was random. Like, there's one of those really specific pictures that you have to know the context behind with the intention of pissing people off. There's no way. It was just, he picked it randomly on Google or Twitter.
To double down on the fact that he shouldn't be getting backlash for this. Not even that, like, it was a bad joke or anything, although he does sort of admit, oh, I had no idea. But really, nobody's buying this. This was like national news. This teenager was stabbed to death because she was trans.
Yeah,
it was all anybody was talking about. It's hard to believe that Twomad would just randomly save this photo of this deceased 16-year-old because he thought she looked hot to his phone, and then posted on Twitter having never gotten the context of it. And then when confronted about the fact that he made this psycho-ass post, double down on the idea that, guys, it was an honest mistake. There is totally a chance that I had no idea who this is, and I just posted it as a meme. You can't be mad at me about that. However, obviously, people were upset about this.
Yeah, that is the only context you would see that from is like some like news account talking about like the fact like she got stabbed. So yeah, there is no way you found it like randomly on some reply section and just saved it to your phone.
Comments about a different 17-year-old who was stabbed to death in New York in order to showcase that seemingly disturbed that he would bring up Brianna Gray's death at this point and then act like it was no big deal.
Oh my god! I just want to say, I don't want to stop the video very often, but I hate people on Discord. Or I barely use Discord. I'm not gonna lie, but I hate people that are just very open about talking about gore. I mean, like talking about like gore videos because they find it fascinating, and then they force the interest on you. Like this guy saying like he wants you send him videos because he just has them saved, I guess.
He was making equivalently horrible jokes about a different teenager who was murdered in order to paint this idea that Twomad was not above making these sorts of jokes. She would then proceed to post several other posts about the comments that Twomad had made to her, including facts that he had tried to sexually assault her, that he had continually tried to harass her through Discord messages, that he had like 6 or 7 burner phone numbers that he would continue to message and stalk her with. Goldie Bell would also upload...
I knew about that, Pop. I didn't know he had 6 burner phones you message her. I'm not surprised. He would be the kind of person that would just walk into a shop and not care about the suspicious that looks.
Initiating any sort of sexual advances, leaving a safe word in which she could use at any point that Twomad would have to step back and think about what he's doing that's making her uncomfortable in an effort to try and continue to have communication with this girl that clearly is trying to make distance between them because of his behaviors. Goldie Bell would also post to her Twitter a now infamous video of Twomad recording himself while driving in Oregon, in which he starts the video by saying, "I'm literally driving. I'm in Oregon right now," before going on to apologize. And
I want to talk about his video because this was like the one, not one, but like the biggest mistake he probably did with like talking about the drama.
This has now gone from a random on Twitter seemingly making accusations about a big YouTuber doing something bad through DMs and what have you, to pretty legitimate proof. Anybody, it happens quite often that somebody will say something with no evidence, but now this is literally Twomad on video in his own words admitting to being manipulative and abusive to somebody who I can't confirm if she was underage and if this is the reason that people are upset at him about doing something with an underage individual. But that's also going on. Twomad would react to this series of tweets.
Right, I'm sure, I feel like most people have already seen it, but no matter how dumb you are, you can always recognize when fans are really angry at you and you have to make like an apology video. I mean, that was kind of like his apology video that every single person has to make on the internet, and even then he messed it up really bad by just seeming like he didn't care. Like, it wouldn't be that hard to just go home and just turn on the webcam and just make like a short 1 minute apology to like the girl he harassed and all of his fans. But instead he just threw his phone down on his car and just record anyways. I could have sworn the audio on that video was really bad and you could barely understand what he's saying, which just adds to him just like not caring at all.
Mean nothing, denying some of it while not denying other parts, saying that the video in which he recorded his apology, he was reading off a script, a sticky note that he had on his windshield that was written by somebody else just to get back into the good graces of this girl that he doesn't deny he was stalking for the better part of 6 or 7 months. He would tweet, I'm not joking, he would tweet like 1,000 times in the next 24 hours. Just spewing nonsense, just spamming the words that he sent that Goldie Bell had received in her text messages, just live on Twitter over and over again, changing his profile picture to Call Me Carson.
Oh my god, yeah. What audience is he hoping to capture by doing that? It just seems more edgy and lame than anything else.
Allegations against him, which were all, in reality, like legitimate claims. He actually messed up and was a bad dude to this individual, but rather than owning it or apologizing, he seemingly, either due to immaturity or it was at this point that people started to speculate that this was some sort of psychotic break, that there was some sort of medication or something that he should have been taking, that he clearly was having relapse symptoms or psychotic breaking symptoms from. He was having what everybody could tell was some sort of manic episode. He would go live on Twitch telling people to come and watch him play Overwatch, where he would play and just, I was in this live stream, I was watching this dude just say over and over again that these allegations are nothing, that this happens in every relationship, that she's lying, that it wasn't that serious. I watched countless content creators jump into
if I watched those streams, I could probably tell it was just like drug induced, because I feel like if he was just naturally like this, having breakdowns this often, it would have happened way early in his YouTube career, I guess. But there was definitely like some big lifestyle change for him to just like out of nowhere be way more hyper and have his ADHD seem unbearable to his fans.
You need to stop tweeting and being live and talking about the situation at the very least. And at best, you need help in one way or another. Talk to me. And he would just continually go, nope, I'm not saying anything. I'm not giving my side of the story. I'm not corroborating. I'm not denying, although he would do both of those things over the course of time.
That's true. He's one of those people that are like, I don't really care, but then they spend like 80% of their day awake just wasting energy on this kind of stuff.
Because, he was getting canceled or whatever. Like, dark parts of his past were now being brought to life because of his edginess online. But the way that he was handling it, tweeting like 60 times a minute, just all of these things, being live on Twitch, talking to people about the situation, and just gloating that there were 600, 1,000 people watching him on Twitch when there were never this many people watching him before, acknowledging that he appreciates
what a lame brag.
having this much attention, despite the fact that it is all due to the conversation that's going on about him being an abuser and a manipulator in one way or another, looked bad. And like I said, countless people reached out to this dude. People were tweeting at him. People were in his Twitch chat. People were telling him to get off the internet or at least respond to some messages like let people know that you're okay or something. And he just wasn't giving anybody anything for like the better part of a couple days. He would eventually...
That should be the biggest waste of energy, because I'm one of those miserable people that if you can't help a person the first time, it's nearly impossible for the next like attempts you try to make. Especially with him, when you can already tell in his videos and on stream that he doesn't care about actually being honest and telling his side of the story. Like, there's no point in trying to help him and make it seem like he can actually talk about it.
Any less dismissive about what he did or how he went down. He would claim that Goldie Bell was just somebody that he paid for sex, and then she backed out of it last minute, or he backed out of it last minute, and that's what she's claiming was him forcing himself upon her, and that it was all bullshit in one way or another. Overall consensus, most people agree that Twomad was just trying to cover up for something bad that he did. Nobody's under the impression that there's any real gray area here. It's just a situation that he handled.
Actually, there probably were like fanboys who were willing to die on the hill that he was innocent, or whatever, or that girl Goldie Bells was a liar. Definitely. I remember seeing a TikTok where it was some kid acting like depressed that they found like Twomad died, and I was just like, this is one of those things where you watch like 1 or 2 videos of him like back when he was like not as psychotic as he was now or then, and you just feel like you've had a huge part of your life ruined, even though you probably like never seen any of his new videos or tweets that he ever did that made people so angry at him.
Seemingly from an overdose, although again the details are still a little gray. You will probably know better than I do by the end of this day, because again, this is like 12 hours ago. YouTuber Jameski, who Twomad did have some sort of drama with like 4 or 5 years ago, from the details that I can pick the pieces out of now, it seemed like a big deal that these guys had beef, but for whatever reason, everything's been deleted and I can't really pick up on what it is. But Jameski, this YouTuber, tweets out the wall of text that you see behind me, saying that he can...
Actually, it's to your left. No, he's right.
With either
no, I look dumb.
Without worry of any retaliation or backlash, that Twomad was a terrible person, specifically calling him a rapist, a pedophile, and outlining the fact that he tried to kill Jameski, murder, right? Not a video game, on several occasions, that he was fearing for his life, that he had to hide out in hotel rooms, and there's a lot of controversy around this tweet right now. A number of people obviously find it a bit...
No, I think some people go angry at him that he tweeted right after he died. But at the same time, it wouldn't have made a difference if he tweeted that before or after, because Twomad himself wouldn't have made like a response either way.
But a lot of people online, again, only really know Twomad from the meme, or only really know Twomad from what felt like a manic episode overreacting to, allegations levied against him. But to call him a rapist or a pedophile or a murderer to a lot of people was completely brand new news, and it felt a little bit ill-timed to post this literally hours after news broke out that he had passed away. I felt the same way. I learned about Twomad's passing minutes before bumping into this wall of text by Jameski, and my initial reaction was also, similar. Like, bro, the dude just died. 23 years old. Like, whatever beef you have, like, you couldn't wait a little bit? And it was after scrolling a bit and seeing the sheer number of people making jokes about Twomad passing away that I realized that I must be missing something. And reading through reading through the comments under this post that Jameski made paints a much darker picture of Twomad, because not only is it corroborated by numerous people that Jameski was very much fearing for his life due to what he felt were legitimate threats against his life, that he was absolutely soliciting pictures from a 13-year-old who was in a psych ward. There were also a tremendous amount of creators in the comments and quote retweeting this tweet, sharing their own experiences, their own private DMs with Twomad, and they're all just as bad as all the ones that I've shown you earlier in this video. There are multiple...
I haven't seen that before. I haven't seen like what he's talking about, but I have seen an ocean worth of just memes of people like trolling on him when he died on Twitter. If you guys ever use Twitter, like, not often, but you just get once in a while, it's one of those events where your entire timeline is just full of it. Like every single tweet, like for every 1 in 5 tweets, it'd be like a meme or a gif making fun of him or like spitting on his grave. And that's when I realized his death has to be the most unique in history or on the internet, where after like a few milliseconds of news breaking out, like not even like an actual confirmation, people immediately made jokes about it, which you have to get like a really low point in your life and do like bad stuff to make people like despise you that much on that level and have no sympathy of making fun of your death.
Spam messages, of Twomad specifically saying that he wanted to sexually assault, rape, underage. Like, he's using all the worst keywords. Like, it almost feels like a joke. Like, he's trying to make this big video where I tricked people into trying to cancel me, but like, there was no joke. This was from all the recollections of everybody saying what he was like when they met him and how he talked and how he DM'd with people. This was what Twomad was like behind the scenes. And it shows that there is at least 3 or 4 content creators that I follow on Twitter that have had interactions with Twomad that have been very similar to the ones that Goldie Bell had posted earlier. And he behaved similarly in DMs, soliciting sex, making jokes about rape, not making jokes about rape, like actually saying that he wanted to do that to people.
The funny thing is, like, you don't even need people to, like, support a story. If you've seen his replies, I mean, Twomad, when he was, like, trying to fight back the criticism and about the drama, it really is easy to believe he was doing that kind of stuff, just from, like, his simple reaction.
This up now. Like, why couldn't you wait an hour? Why couldn't you wait a day? Why does it feel like you need to capitalize on the fact that this dude passed away to share all this information? And the reality is that, like, maybe he didn't need to tweet that out right then, but the tweet outlines that he's been working with law enforcement to try and keep Twomad and the people around him safe, that he had been abusing drugs, that he had been trying to murder people, driving on the highway recklessly, and it felt like, you know, you can't get mad at people for, like, making these allegations that we see on Twitter and on the internet all the time. You know, all of us want to be like, listen, if it's really that serious, don't make a cancellation post, go to the police. Well, that's what Jamesky did. He was working with law enforcement. He was trying to get the situation sorted, fearing for his own life, and trying to keep Twomad from doing any more damage than he had already done. And this post was just sort of, I mean, I still feel like you could have waited a little bit, but, like, you know, I guess it's justified. The situation.
No, that's true. I've seen. I can imagine people making like way more harsher stuff, like bigger YouTubers immediately like making fun of his death. To me, at least, I feel like he had a little bit more freedom because he was forced to like work with him and like he tried to support him multiple times, and just after that, I think when he died, I saw like the news like everyone else at the same time on Twitter. That was more of like a way to confirm with, I guess, the small number of fans that actually supported him, that he wanted to more like clear up the air. Like you can feel bad for him, but you have to recognize all the other stuff he did before in the past.
The waters are murky. It depends on who you talk to. It's very clear that Twomad was a disturbed individual in one way or another. I don't know to what extent that is because of like mental illnesses or manic episodes, a lack of help and mental stability, or a lack of medication. It's clear that something was wrong with Twomad, and being so young, like, I see the memes, like, I see people making fun of it, and I understand that it's like therapeutic for these people who were like fearing for their safety when they knew that Twomad was in the room or at a convention, or the DMs that they would get, the harassment that they would get. I get that it's like therapeutic to be able to see that this big orb of darkness is now out of your life, and it must be therapeutic to be able to make jokes about it or feel relief now that you don't need to worry about that. But even the people who knew Twomad to any extent, I didn't know the dude at all, but the people who had met him, the people who had interacted with him, even the ones who had gotten similar harassment or spam emails, stalking behaviors, people who were on the worst side of Twomad, still find it difficult to just be celebrating his death, because it feels like everybody sort of recognizes that there was a failure in getting this dude the help that he needed, whether it was medication or just like somebody to teach him the correct way to interact with people, and that what he was doing was hurting them. Did he know? Did he not know? Should he have been on medication? Did he have mental issues? Like, there's a lot of questions up in the air that sort of make it bring down to here's a post that was just made by Goldie Bell, the original. No,
so before he moves on, I just want to say that I can get what he means, because with someone, with a fan, it's like a dichotomy between like a fan and a creator, where the fan can easily make a joke about it because all they've seen of the person is just like YouTube videos where it's very one-sided. But with someone that's worked with him, the news feels way heavier when you've worked with the person, and either way, whether you were friends with him or you hated him, it still felt shocking to have like that kind of like massive news of an overdose out of nowhere. Just like that headline alone was shocking to at least everyone, at least.
Girl who posted and started this whole situation and his downfall. And, you know, it sort of summarizes how everybody's feeling. It's bittersweet because it's like you want to be mad at the dude because he was a he did some terrible things. But he was so young and he was so creative that everybody's just sort of wondering, like, could there have been help? Could there have been something that could have made him better? Was there a different path that he could have gone on? I don't blame anybody who's making jokes about his death. I know that trauma is something that people deal with in different ways, and if that's the way that it makes you feel better about the situation, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's like I said, the cause of death on him is supposedly overdose from drugs because they found paraphernalia in his room, but I don't know if that means he had a bong or if that means he had a ton of oxy and he was planning.
No, there's definitely evidence of him admitting he was taking hard drugs, like hard enough that would cause an overdose.
In the future, it's totally possible that Twomad was going to do something crazy, and him passing away in the way that he did was the best situation that could have come from the path that he was already on. But like I said, I don't know, man. 23 years old. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. If you guys have more information about the situation or if you want to discuss it, obviously the comments are down there. This video has taken me like 8 hours to record. My hands have been shaking the entire time just thinking about everything that's been going on, and it has been completely bumming me out. You know, you get into YouTube thinking you're just going to make videos about memes and laugh all the time, and then shit like this happens, and then you realize the gravity of the job that you have, and I feel... I don't know how I feel. I feel numb. I feel empty. I don't know anymore. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Hopefully the next one isn't anywhere near as heavy as this one. And I'll catch you guys there, yeah? Peace.
You know, that is true. With this kind of story, I mean, like, this is one of the most rarest cases on the internet I've seen. Like, I'm trying really hard to, like, compare a story to this one, but it's just so bizarre where just both, like, parties is, like, so divided because of just, like, this simple news of a drug overdose where no matter what kind of person it was, just feels like heavy to hear out of nowhere. Like most stories, at least of someone dying, there's at least some build up to it, like people being admitted to a hospital where they either make a video about it or they have friends on Twitter talk like about how they're dealing with it. But when you had someone like him that just had like news articles like Etc or whatever news account you could find have like actual tweets saying that like potentially he could have overdosed, then it just feels so like weird and out of the blue. And I think his death was such like a unique case because he's one of those people that when they died, some people were like making memes about him that forced the people that never knew him to acknowledge who he was. I mean, I've seen people on Twitter be like, I have no idea who this guy is, but I've seen at least like 100 memes just like this one making fun of him dying, with barely any backlash from actual fans that was sad that he died. I mean, the only people I saw getting angry at the jokes were just saying like, he was 23 years old, he was a drug overdose, which I can understand definitely. Like, I'm not saying like the fact that he died is a godsend on everyone in general, but to me at least it feels inherently bad to make fun of someone who just like had a horrible death, like a drug overdose, which I imagine, I mean, he was like staying like dead in his apartment for at least 5 days before the police had to check her up. So it's definitely not one of those deaths that's gonna win like a Darwin Award because it was so funny. It was very heavy, especially nowadays where with young people there's always news about them like having a drug overdose, which I'm pretty sure, I'm not gonna set it in stone, but I'm pretty sure it was fentanyl because of the amount of times he brought it up, and of course because the high casualty rate of it being, you know, with drugs, which people that made jokes about him definitely added on top because of that. I mean, that even though a lot of people have died from it, people just love making jokes about it in general. Because it was either that or black tar heroin, which all people were saying what caused them, which probably wasn't. But people on the internet that aren't like massive creators and just have like a tiny account love making memes about it as like offensive as possible and just dragging the truth out to like impossible extents. But at the same time, I'm not surprised. Whenever there's someone dying, there will always be at least one party making fun of them. And this has to be the biggest side I've ever seen, where it was way more people being happy that he died than being sad over it. It actually blows my mind. Jesus Christ.